Now I have 10 tips for you to scale your business if you're a concrete contractor coming from me who's done over $10 million worth of concrete work in the past 6 years. And tip number one is profit over revenue. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is they think when they get into business, they get very excited and they want to grow, right? You want to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the thing is, realize that that's actually coming from a place of ego, okay? At the end of the day, what really matters is how much money that you're making, not how much profit you're generating. What actually made me think of this is I just talked to a $3 million a year contractor earlier this week, and he was actually running his business by himself. So what I mean by that is he was doing all the sales, all the estimates, all the office work, invoicing, everything, but he was only making $600,000 of gross profit. And then by the time that he took out his equipment expenses, his insurance, marketing, everything, he actually wasn't really making money. So my thing is, why get a big business if you're going to do all that work and at the end of the day have no money? It makes way more sense just to focus on profit. Another one that I see all the time is you are being hired to solve problems. Okay, so what the big thing that I want to mention and what I notice all the time is there's a lot of contractors and they think that they are like order takers. As in, so imagine if you're driving up to a drive-through, you're going to McDonald's, you pull up to the window, and this is how you order a McDonald's. You say, I want a medium fry and I want whatever, a Big Mac and a large drink. And then the guy says, okay, sounds good. That'll be $10. And then you say, okay, and that's the transaction. The thing is, with concrete businesses, we're selling such a high ticket item, there's a lot more emotion behind it. And so just realize that someone is either hiring you to move towards pleasure or away from pain. So first and foremost, we have to ask them why they are trying to do the project, okay? Because say, for instance, if someone is trying to do a driveway because they are concerned about the cracks in their driveway and it's a tripping hazard, well, now all of a sudden, I'm going to craft my driveway to make sure that that doesn't happen. As in, I'm going to put in maybe extra rebar, fiber, etc. Someone else might be buying for a fully different reason. So just know you are being hired to solve problems, not being hired just because you can take orders and give a price. You also have to be willing to work on the hard stuff. So this is something that I've really realized and honestly has been a huge challenge to me. I love marketing. I love sales. I love that side of the business. But what I don't like is all the numbers, the fine little details, being organized. That is absolutely things that I do not like. And for the longest time, I would push off the things that were hard to me, aka like bookkeeping, taxes, knowing my numbers, and I would focus on what I enjoyed, marketing and sales. But what I realized is that that is not where you make the most money being a concrete business owner. Where you make the most money is by focusing on your biggest, hardest problem. And so although it's going to be very hard, very challenging, and it is not easy, we have to force ourselves to do the things that we keep pushing off day after day, week after week, month after month. Those are typically the things that are going to grow our business the most, but they're also the most challenging. All right, next one is the business that can spend the most money to acquire a customer will always win. And my mindset on this has actually changed a little bit. So the saying is still true that if I could spend more than you to acquire a customer, then I could beat you in business. But I used to only think that that came from sales. As in, if I could sell a 1,000 square foot driveway for $15,000 and you could only sell it for $10,000, well, now I could spend $5,000 on marketing to acquire that driveway and I will be making the same money as you. Pretty crazy, right? But here's where my view has actually changed over the past. And one of them is that I realized that you can actually still make more money per customer by doing a couple other things. One, you could be more efficient, right? Like, so for instance, if I can sell a 10,000 square foot or a 1,000 square foot driveway for 10,000, you could do the same, but it only costs me $3,000 to fulfill and you $5,000. Well, now I could spend $2,000 more on marketing to get that job from you, so I will win. I could also do it where if I'm really, really good at my work and I can turn one customer into 5 customers because people love me that much and word of mouth kicks in, well, now all of a sudden I can actually take a loss on my first customer through marketing because I know that I'm gonna get 5 other customers for free. But at the end of the day, just know that whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer will win. That can come from marketing, sales, pricing, efficiency, word of mouth, etc. But the saying is still true. Next one is to be open-minded. And where I actually learned this first from is I worked at a marketing company and business owners would call me and they'd always say, hey, I was doing really good in business and now all of a sudden I can't get work. And I was like, well, what's happening? And they're like, I've done the same thing for 20 years. And I said, well, what were you doing? And they said, oh, I'm advertising in the yellow pages, the phone book. And the crazy thing is people have a tendency to do this. You find something that works. Like, for instance, right now, you're doing exactly what you should. You're on YouTube, you're learning, you're trying to find out new information, you're trying to grow. But what happens to a lot of people, they do this, then they grow, they get results, and then all of a sudden, now they become complacent and they stop changing. They find something that works and they think, oh, well, this works and I'm never going to change anything ever again. Absolutely not. The game of business is we always have to be changing, evolving. Technology changes, people change, the way the world works change. If you're not changing, then you're probably dying. All right, the next one is knowing where to invest your money. And so I get this all the time. Someone will all of a sudden go out, they're gonna make a little bit of money. They're gonna say, hey, I've got $30,000. What would you do with that $30,000 if you were me? And what a lot of people, they expect the answer to be real estate, stocks, crypto, an index fund, you name it. That's what they're expecting. But in my opinion, and what has served me the most, what has allowed me to grow the fastest and make more money is through investing in the S&P 500, not the S&P 500. So what do I mean by that? If you take your money and you learn more skills to make more money, well, then you will make the most over time. For instance, let's just say you finally learn how to make $100,000 a year and you could save $30,000 from that $100,000. Well, from that $30,000, you could either invest it in S&P, and let's just say if you have a killer year, you get 20%. Well, now all of a sudden you made $6,000 extra from your interest. But what if you could take that $30,000, you could pay someone who's making $500,000 a year, and you say, I will pay you $30,000. I just need you to teach me what you're doing to make the $500,000. Now you've turned that $30,000 into making an extra $400,000 a year. And the best part is that also magnifies over time, because you're not just gonna make that once, you're gonna make it forever. Speaking of which, if you need help with literally anything, I'm here to help you guys. My contact information is down below. Don't be afraid to hit me up for any question you got. Our next one is to always be honest. And so this goes in all scenarios. Let's just say that you mess up on a project. A lot of people are like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I tell the customer? 9 times out of 10, the best thing to do is just go to your customer and just be honest. And people always appreciate if you are just open and upfront with the things, even if it's uncomfortable, it will lead to them respecting you, trusting you, referring out business, etc. The other example that I wanted to give is in sales. A lot of people think that sales is convincing the customer to spend money with us. But I cannot tell you guys how many times that I've went out to a bid. Let's just say, for instance, I come out and they say, I want you to replace my patio. And it's a big patio. I could tell they got money and I could probably make the sale. But then I dig a little bit deeper and I say, well, why do you want to do this? They say, oh, well, you see this little crack here? Be like, I don't want to crack. And then I have to be honest with them about saying, hey, just so you know, if you do replace your patio with concrete again, I cannot guarantee that this won't crack. So I'm not trying to say that to scare you away. I just want to be open and honest with you because I want to make sure that if you buy a product from me, that I'm taking good care of you and that you're going to be happy with me. And if they say, oh my God, well, what can I do? And I say, well, you might want to consider pavers. Here's the thing though, this patio is going to cost $15,000 with me and pavers is going to be $30,000 to $40,000. So it's up to you. I don't know if you really don't want the crack that bad that you want to spend that type of money, but if you do, then I totally get it. I just want to make sure that I'm being open with you so that way you're not buying something you're not actually happy with. And because I was honest with them, I cannot tell you guys how many times that I've gotten referrals, gotten people who call me back years down the line, because I was the guy who wasn't afraid to tell them the truth. So be honest every single time. Next one is to not overextend yourself. And so I've done this so many times. And when I say overextend yourself, what I mean by that is you take on too big of a pill to swallow, right? I mean, there's a reason why the saying is like that. If you try to swallow a pill because you're just trying to do it way too fast, well, sometimes that pill can get stuck in your throat and it will freaking kill you. And business is the same exact way. So what we always have to remember, that business is a game and the goal of the game is to stay in business. And so if you're going to a poker table and you're pushing all of your chips in every single time, even if you have pocket aces, and you're going to make a good bet, all of my money in, sometimes pocket aces loses to a 2-3, okay? It doesn't matter if you're always pushing all the chips into the table, there will be a time you're going to be wrong and then you'll go out of business and then you have nothing. So always realize that you have to weigh the reward, because if we're an entrepreneur, we're always thinking optimistically. We're thinking positively. We're thinking about all the good things. But what we have to take into consideration too is the downside. And you really want to weigh both, and you want to only try to tackle one thing at a time so you could actually do it correctly and you don't get overwhelmed and then everything falls apart. Next is having an understanding of what I call the 3 pillars. And the 3 pillars are price, quality, and service. And so as a business owner, you have to pick 2 out of the 3, okay? So if you want to be competitive on price, well, now all of a sudden I can guarantee you over a long time horizon, you will not also be able to compete on quality and service. It's just literally not possible. Because say, for instance, in my business, my 2 competitive ones that I chose are quality and service, knowing that my price is not going to be competitive. But why can I guarantee that my quality is going to be higher than someone who doesn't charge enough? Well, because I simply just have money to hire a team to provide an amazing service. I have the money to warranty stuff. I have the money to provide a great quality service experience. And there's nothing wrong. I can't tell you guys how many other people that I've met, and although they think that they excel at all 3, they really don't. They're good at, say, for instance, like price and quality, and their service sucks. For instance, like they don't call people back right away, like they're running around with a chicken, like their head cut off, and they have successful businesses. That's the crazy thing. You can build a business on not having great service, but you're gonna have to be price competitive. So that's the 3 pillars. Just choose 2 out of 3 and make sure that you know you can't have all 3 unless you're the only one in your market who has like AI robots, and now all of a sudden you have a competitive advantage. All right, guys, and the very last thing is to take care of your own. And so the saying goes, right, don't bite the hand that feeds you. And if you're a business owner, you're making all this money, and yes, it's true, you're the one taking on the risk, you're working hard, etc. But also realize that you couldn't do it without your team. And so you have to treat them well, right? Like for instance, I'm going through a hard time in my business right now, and I made it very clear to my team that if anyone is going to take a bullet first, it's going to be me. AKA, that's why I'm a business owner. When I make money, I save some, and I save some so that way, if the business needs to, we're going to have some cash and I could keep my people employed. And that will do wonders for our business over time. And if people trust you, then you can, like, I hear people all the time, they say, why don't they care? Like, why don't they treat this business like it's their own? It's because you need to give it to them first. You have to give them the respect, kindness, all of that. And once you do that, then you will see it reciprocated to you. So with that being said, if you like this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and also YouTube thinks that you're gonna love this video, so make sure you click this one next. I'll see you guys there.